What a sick fuck.
The hardest 3 thrusts. Dude, I'm tripping my balls off.
Come to my house telling me to shut the fuck up and then telling me to reel it back in. Welcome to Agro Labs Podcast. My name is Cameron, and today with me, I have a special guest. What's up, Nate?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just happy to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm excited to be here.
Got to eat some chili dogs with the Godfather, dude.
The Godfather. Little Tony Packles.
Yeah, dude. So I know a little bit about you, right? And I think we as people are multifaceted. But I also think while you're on this platform, I would like to give my listeners a quick little backstory about you, which is I know where you're from, but you're homegrown, right? Like, you're from the Toledo area.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Genoa. It's about 15 minutes east of Toledo. I came up in a good childhood. You know, I came in that normal, like, what people vision as a small town family. My parents were middle class, but they provided everything that I needed growing up. They loved me. They took care of me. They did what they were supposed to as parents. I have 2 older sisters. My middle sister has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. So growing up was a little tough with that. Just because of, it's a small town. And she stood out, but she stood out in a good way. She's like a local angel, and people know that.
It's amazing.
She's worked at the local grocery store for 16 years, so we can't go anywhere without people knowing her, which is great, which makes her, because, like, my parents, when she was growing up, my parents didn't isolate her like a lot of people do with handicapped kids.
Yeah.
So if they have a kid with Down syndrome or they're autistic, they just keep them at home, but they made her go to school, and she was around other people, so she's very sociable. She'll go anywhere, she'll talk to anybody, everybody's her best friend. Which is great. So it made it a lot easier growing up. But she's an angel. She's an angel, and she's very involved in community events when it comes to Down syndrome and stuff like that.
That's, I've never grown up with a sibling that have disabilities, man, but I see your Facebook post, and there's always just a big smile on her face, man, and a big smile on yours.
One thing I learned about her is, after my life and what I've been through, and we'll get into that, but, like, I've learned how to not be so selfish and so self-centered, and that's one thing that she's not. She is not selfish at all. She doesn't know what resentment is. So when people make her mad, she doesn't hold a grudge against them. She does have feelings. She does get mad at people, but it's not like normal human beings or normal people that don't have a defect or a handicap or anything. They hold on to resentment, and she just lets it go, and she's back to her normal, smiling, happy self.
No shit. And you're her younger brother?
I'm her younger brother.
You're her younger brother.
Yeah.
And, there's something to be said, because I've grown up in both communities. I've been, I've lived in Toledo my whole life, and then kind of had a city life, but I've also spent time in small communities, and there's something to be said about, like, asking your neighbor for sugar. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ask people for sugar in Toledo, but if you live in the outskirts, but it's something to be said when we talk about those small communities that uplift people. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember going to borrow some sugar from my neighbor in Toledo.
No, you don't do that. And it's funny how people communicate with you in a small town. Also, they communicate different. They actually talk to you like, "Hey, how's it going? I hope everything's good. How's your dog? How's how's the kids? How's your mom feeling?" I know that she was like, they know everything that's going on, but they care. They actually care. They want to see how people are.
Yeah, getting caught between going to a little bit of a country place, small town, and going to a Walmart and waiting in lines, like,
yeah, it's totally different.
It's a meet and greet.
The bad thing about it is, like, no matter where I go nowadays, people know me. So, like, they always, and it's funny with what I do, because I work in the addiction field, and a lot of people know that. And a lot of people have reached out to me, but I can go back to my hometown and walk into the local grocery store, and I'll have a couple people come up, "Hey, Nate, I see what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Thank you." And then I have those couple people that kind of see me and kind of steer the other way. And they don't want to talk to me about it, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on with them?
Do you think it has something to do with the stigma of addiction?
I think a lot of it does, and I'm sure, like, probably everybody that's going to hear this knows somebody that struggled with addiction. And I'm sure that these people maybe they have somebody at home or somebody that's close to them, and they're trying to avoid the conversation.
Well, listen, man, I mean, and this is me being frank right now, which is, since I've started working in this field, especially during COVID or through COVID, I've seen uptakes in like doctors, lawyers, teachers, family people, like people who really like, a place where I came from, which was, a young adult making terrible life choices, terrible life decisions. I'm talking about people who are 40 and just started drinking out of control, due to the shutdown, due to the locked in, due to isolation, due to depression, due to losing a job. And that's the thing. Like now it's so commonplace. Like I don't really think we shouldn't, look at Nate in hushed tones at a Kroger's anymore because of it.
Yeah, and people need to open up. People definitely need to open up, and they don't. That's the bad thing about it, is they're still, even with how much the media and people coming forward and saying they're struggling, even powerful people that are coming forward and saying that they're struggling, there's still people that sit back and don't talk about it. Yeah. And they just keep letting it build up till it's to a point where they can't take it anymore and they can't handle it. And it's a terrible situation, and the only thing that they know to do is finally reach out to somebody. But like I always tell people, why wait? Why wait till it gets to that point where you can't tolerate it anymore? Why not make a change right now? You have an opportunity.
And just a little shout out to Nate. Nate's gonna have January 18th.
Yep, January 18th.
13 years.
13 years sober.
And here's the real fact. Could you even imagine your life right now if there wasn't help available to you when you wanted it?
Absolutely not. And the reason why I do what I do is because there was somebody there for me. And like it took me a while. I try to always do things on my own, and finally I started taking suggestions from people that have been through, and people knew, they know the route. And I would actually listen to people when they were telling me, like, you need to do this, or you need to stop doing this, and try this. It's all about changing behaviors, and I had to learn that, and somebody taught me how to change my behaviors and become a different person than what I was when I was using heroin.
It's really crazy. So, like, I think that especially when we talk about people who, I know a bit about you, who live like me and you. I feel like when we were living that way, we ended up, thinking that this subculture encompassed everyone. Like I had this way of thinking where I thought everyone I ever came into contact with probably used drugs and probably drank, and it was no big deal. And come to find out, like I'm the niche in society, right? Like there's definitely a lot of people who do it, but I'm no one's living the lifestyle that I really am. And it's really crazy when I think about this, and when I'm talking about this, how now we see, because back in my day, you didn't really want to tell people you were a heroin addict, right? It wasn't really a cool thing to talk about. And I almost see now, like especially with the younger generations coming up, rap music, of course, right? Or subculture, culture, genres in general, media, social media platforms, idolizing drug use, man. Idolizing those kind of things that, looking back now, 4 years later, 13 years for you, is like, dude, that's the stuff that crushed me.
It's crazy how, working in the field and being sober for 13 years, I've met a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of different stories, and I've seen different paths of lives. But it's weird how people nowadays, compared to when I was using, how different it is. Like, because no fentanyl's around, so people are overdosing more. Even I got sober before fentanyl was coming. When I was using it, was just straight heroin. And, you're seeing all these overdoses, but you're seeing a lot of younger kids, 15, 16 years old that are, stealing pills or popping pills and just leading them right into heroin addiction.
So, what made you get into this work, man?
So, I think I just had the desire to help people. I was homeless here in Toledo, and I was shooting heroin every single day. And I had already been to jail a few times, and I turned myself into jail and went to jail for 60 days, and I went to treatment for 30 days, court ordered. And I completed that, and I moved into a sober home. And when I was in the sober home, I started working at a hotel. It was my first job in sobriety, and I realized I was good at working. And it's been a long time since I actually felt some worth. I had some responsibility, and I had something holding me accountable. But I took it and I strived with it, and I started working at a hotel, and when I started working at that hotel, I started as a bellman, and within 2 months, I was trained at the front desk, and then I was trained in housekeeping, and then I was trained in banquets, and then I was trained in engineering, and I did every single part of this aspect of this hotel, and I learned that I could strive if I put the effort in. That I used to put the effort in to get high. If I put that effort into what I was doing at that point, working, I started growing, and I just started, and I realized I could take care of things, and I could step up. And when I had a year sober, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go work in this field. You know, I'm going to try to help people. And I just worked my way up. I did the same thing at the hotel, but I started when I had a year sober, and I'm coming up on 13 years and been in it the whole time.
This is some of the most rewarding work that I think, like, working with people is a tough job in general, you know, but it is one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever worked, right? And there's something about, like, picking up a hammer, right, and working. I like that too. But what matters the most to me about this work isn't the accolade, it isn't the pay. I got a dresser full of, like, notes upstairs, and those notes I can look at from previous people that I've helped personally or that I've seen, right? And I don't even remember their name, but they remember my name, right? And they send me a letter, and I get it, and I get to see, like, oh shit, dude, someone's still doing okay. Mm-hmm. Someone's still alive today. You know what I mean? And that's like the biggest part for me. And for me, I don't try to lose sight of that, because it's really easy to in the field.
You know, when I always look at it, like, I always try to look back and figure out, like, when did I decide this is what I wanted to do? Because, you know, my whole life I never knew what I wanted to be. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a weatherman. You know, but
you would have been a good weatherman.
But I was like, you know what? I never went with that because heroin addiction. So, like, I never followed through. Never went to college. Never did any of that. So I was like, what point did I realize this is what I want to do? And when I had 2 years sober, I had a little over 2 years. I had a kid call me that I had in treatment, and I worked with him while he was in there, and he was in treatment for 3 days, and he wanted to leave against medical advice. And I spent probably 2 hours with him, and I convinced him to stay. And he stayed in the program that I worked at, and he completed that. And then I never heard from him again. And then when I had a little over 2 years sober, he called me, and he was like, hey, I have a year sober. I'm going to dinner with my parents. Do you want to join us? And it was just like something clicked in my head, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I took off with it.
Yeah, man. People don't realize either. You know, as you brought up, like, that wonderful, cherished moment where they're like, you know, you got invited to dinner with the family. Like, addiction, like, really just encompasses the family too, man. Mm-hmm. Like, I did so much damage to my mother. Shout out Christy.
I know your mom. I love her.
Yeah, dude. She's such a good mom, dude. And you know, I came from, like, pretty much the same. You know, for most of my life, I lived in, like, low economic status due to my own choosing. But growing up, dude, you know, middle income. I didn't get the shoes I wanted all the time, but that didn't matter. I had fucking shoes, right? Mm-hmm. And like, that's the thing I see, man, is like, when you do this kind of work, like, you're not only helping the addict and the alcoholic, but you're also helping mend bridges to society, to communities, and to families, man.
You know, when I first started doing this I was a support for people that were coming into recovery. I never talked to families. I never really did very much. But after the years of doing this, I started transitioning into more of a role where I had more hands-on with people outside of the person in recovery's life. So, like, their families, their loved ones, husbands, wives. And, like, I started seeing how much it really affects. You know, and then I always look back and reminisce on, like, how much it affected my family. And it's crazy now, even 13 years sober, how much it still does. Because, like, you know, 2 weeks ago, I went, like, 5 days, right after Christmas, I went, like, 5 days without talking to my mom. And I'm a busy person. And I went 5 whole days without talking to her. I didn't even realize that I didn't talk to her for 5 days. And she was like, what's going on with you?
Dude, I gotta call my mom.
Yeah. And I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, wow, I can't believe it. After all this, I mean, I'm a business owner. I'm 13 years sober. You know, she knows that I'm involved in a lot of different things, doing a lot of different stuff. But she's still, you know, it's been 5 days since you called me. Is everything okay? You know, yeah. Which is good, because that just shows me that I still have continuous support from her.
I gotta call my mom, dude. She's the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And, like, I text her. Texting's easier for me with my mom, because I get on the phone with my mom. We talk like crazy for 20 minutes, talking circles. And so I gotta send her a text. Say, I love you, mom. Doing okay. You know what I mean? And she recently just got COVID. I haven't even seen her since before Christmas. She's been down with COVID. I guess like they had a potluck at work, and she got it or whatever. But I haven't seen her since like December 15th, and so I'm looking forward to seeing Mom, dude. 'Cause I'm a mama's boy, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a full bred mama's boy, dude. Mama's cooking.
I love it.
Yeah, all
the same
of it.
way. Well, I'm the only boy, so I'm the only boy and I'm the baby, so I'm definitely a mama's boy.
So you're the favorite.
I'm the favorite. You can ask my sisters; they know I'm the favorite.
I always tell my mom, I'm like, I'm your favorite. Mom, she's like, no, you're not. I got a little brother, and I know I'm the favorite. You know what I mean? I think when we talk about like these family bonds, like it's also a generational thing. Like I see a lot of people, whether they want to believe it or not, like whether it's genetics, which I'm not a scientist, I have no idea if it is, or whether it's we see certain behaviors in people in front of us, which makes us more prone to drink, to smoke, whatever the case may be, and get into those gateway situations. I definitely foresee that in my life with my father, playing a role. The first guy I ever seen chug a beer was my dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Not my dad. My dad. Nobody in my family was substance use users. They didn't use. They told me I have uncles, and my grandpa drank a lot, but I didn't really have anybody that was addicted to heroin or addicted to pills or drinking every day So, like, they have a really hard time. They really struggle with the whole substance use, like, why can't you stop? And that went on for a long time while I was using. Why can't you stop?
I wish I could have stopped, man. Because my family would ask me those questions, like, why can't you just stop? And I'm like, I don't know, dude.
I can't figure out how to do it. I love it and I obsess over it, and I can't stop. Mentally, I could not get away from it.
And that's why I think one of the best services possible, which which you are working towards to provide is the detox and that service and aftercare afterwards, man. Because once we're dried out, we gotta have some space to have some mental clarity and to some thinking and be able to get our mind straight. Because our bodies heal fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I was kind of crazy at a year sober still.
Yeah, I
was wound tight, dude.
And that's where earlier I mentioned about changing behaviors. Like, you can't do things if you know that they're wrong. You shouldn't be doing them. Whether you're sober or not, you shouldn't be doing them because then behaviors they keep adding up, and you continue to live those behaviors. You're eventually going to go back to that same person you were prior to you getting sober. Yeah, so dude. It's changing everything. But I didn't know how to do it. I needed somebody to show me how to do it. What do I do to change my behaviors? What do you recommend?
I think when people hear the word like sponsorship, they get kind of scared.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because even successful people, like Gary V, Gary V, right? Like those entrepreneurial people or the people who are in their fields and they're crushing it and they're killing it. They all had mentors. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they all had a college professor who taught them about a niche, or every successful person I run into got some input and some idea from somebody else on how to live the particular way they wanted to live. But if we could just change that idea of like, hey, I don't know how to live my life. I need someone, the community, to help me live my life and try to figure out how to be a normal person. If we could change that stigma for ourselves, that would be fucking amazing. But I know me, coming into recovery, I just didn't like authority, man.
Yeah, it's hard to take. Sometimes you get stuck in your ways, and it's hard. Why is this guy telling me to do this? Who the hell is he? How does he know this works? And that's where the trust comes into play. You got to trust, because what I was doing wasn't working. So what I was doing, with it not working, I'm going to try something different that I've seen it work with other people.
I thought this was all a scam. I was like, dude, you're telling me you didn't smoke no weed or drink no beers for 40 years?
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, get out of my face, dude. No way.
And it's crazy.
And now I'm looking back like, no, dude, this is a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in it and you're using, that's all you know. So you don't think it's possible to live any other way without having some kind of mind altering substance in you.
Yeah, man. And I think it really goes back to my mindset that I was talking about, which is like everyone was like me, and like I just couldn't imagine a life like this, because my life and my behaviors were so encompassed with substance use, man. And not only that, man, like I've never been a person who's had mental health issues, but especially for men, man, like substance use and mental health go hand in hand,
right?
Anger, depression, anxiety, all bipolar disorder, all of those things go hand in hand with addiction.
It's crazy how being on the other side, you see that. There's so many clients I've had in my care that I look at them, I'm like, man, the stuff that they're going through right now is the same shit that I went through. I just never recognized it. So I recognize that kind of stuff nowadays. When I see people going through shit, it's like I've felt that before. I felt what they're feeling. And that's sometimes you can get on somebody's level that way. If I can sit with somebody and be like, yo, man, the way you're feeling right now is the same way I felt at one point, and this is what I did to take care of it.
I think that's why people, and I was talking to Jake about this, I think that's why it's super important people like me, you, and other people in this community who are recovering and who are in the community do this work. Because we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but like who's better than us to empathize with someone's situation or understand the situation and the gravity to it in all aspects. Like you can go to school and there's some great social workers out there, and there's great therapists out there, and there's great psychologists, and there's great psychiatrists, but to actually be affected by this and know exactly how this works and it has worked in your life and be able to reflect and look back on it, like the way I look at it, man, I'm built for it tough, built for it tough.
Owning, like I own a facility, I run a treatment center, but outside of that, I'm still a human being, who helps people,
right.
And there's not just, I just don't help the people that come through my facility. I'm always available. I've spent a lot of hours on phones with parents. I've spent a lot of hours on phones with people that were using, and I spent a lot of hours on people that were sober, just going through shit, But like I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and that honestly, in the long run, is the reason why I'm sober today. It's helped me stay sober. It's taught me, like, you know what? It's not about you anymore. You went through your shit to get to a point to be not about you and for you to start helping other people.
What's crazy, man, is I like how you just said that. It made me think about, so I'm sitting there one night and I'm ordering something off of Amazon off my girlfriend's phone. And there's a message that pops through and it's like, thank you. I click on it. And it's some girl and my girlfriend paid for her dinner. Right. And so my girlfriend's on this like Facebook page where basically like people ask for help for certain things, and this girl asked, hey, I'm really hungry, I need some dinner tonight, can anyone buy me some food and send it delivery? And she did that, and there was like this ounce of selfishness that I was just like looking at her like, why? But then I was like, oh fuck, dude, she's doing a good thing for somebody. You know what I mean? And like that's, my brain don't work that way, right? Like I gotta like, I know I want to help people, but then like my brain's almost like so selfish at times where like I can't see past like someone might actually need the help, right? And so I caught myself and like in a moment and I was just like, oh, she did the good thing there, you know what I mean? She sent that money, because for me, especially in those situations, like when it comes to helping people, I'm leery sometimes to help certain people because and I'm not talking about situations where like sending people money. I'm talking about like I'm leery of like getting around someone who I'm not sure has the best intentions, because I don't ever want to be put into any situation that could be misconstrued, or someone being in my car that has drugs on them, and then throwing it in my backseat of my car. Like, those are the things that I think about when I think about helping someone too, which is kind of crazy. And there's people out there, man, like you and like her, who just give so freely, man. And that's something that I've always valued in you and wanted to ascertain too, is like, how do I do that? How do I give my all in my being into just helping people? And that's something that I actually work on and try to do, man, because I struggle with that. And while you were talking, you were talking about owning a facility. What was that jump like? When were you just like, because like, this podcast, it was scary, man. I had to make an investment in it. I had to be like, you know, hey, this is the money I'm putting up for it. This is what I'm doing. What was that like for you, dude? Just making that dive and being like, this is it.
A lot of fear, but I was, you know, I've always learned that as long as I stay focused and if I put my mind in something, I can make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's not supposed to. And like I was like, you know what? You know, I knew that, you know, I was working at a facility and I loved the facility and I didn't want to leave there. But I was at a point in my life where I've been doing this for 13 years. I've learned a lot of stuff in this field, and I wanted to create something that I bring everything that I've learned working in every aspect of a treatment center. And I've done every pretty much aspect except for a clinical therapist. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. I had the opportunity to do it right now. I'm just going to make it happen. And if it doesn't work, it's not supposed to happen. And I went with it, man. And I started putting it all together. And, you know, it's funny how everything just fell into play. You know, I wanted to find houses. I found 3 houses all next to each other. Like, impossible to do that anywhere, finding 3 houses that were for sale all next to each other. And it was like right, and they went on the market the day before I asked the realtor. It was like perfect timing. I found my clinical building, and it was like the perfect building, the perfect setup. It was cheap, and it was 6 minutes away from them houses. And I'm like, what the hell? How is this all falling into play like this? And it just, everything worked out.
I really think whether you want to call it, you know, the universe, a higher power, or God, and no matter what, dude, whatever's out there, dude, moves mountains for people, man. Mm-hmm. Like the right place, right time thing is definitely the truth. And you know, I always think about I'm kind of a history buff. And I think about Julius Caesar, and he's he's looking at the Rubicon, and he's like, okay, I can either disperse my army, and they're going to go and kill me in the Senate. When I go back to Rome, they're going to murder me, or I can cross the Rubicon and try becoming the emperor of Rome. And it was that split-second decision where, you know, he put forth that action that which propelled history forward, you know, the next couple hundred years. And I think that's, you know, carpe diem, you know, seizing the moment for what it is really important in my life and in successful people's lives that I see, man, is just, hey, I want to do this, we'll do it. You know, Nike that shit, get it done.
And that's what it was. I mean, it wasn't easy. I knew it was a lot of work, but I was mentally prepared for it. And the reason why I got mentally prepared for it is because what we talked about earlier, I talked to other people about it and people that have been through it. And I said, listen, you know, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? Can you tell me the things I need to do? And even people who, I mean, it's a business at the end. It's a business, you know, overall it's a business also, but we're helping people. But even people that would be competitors with me were giving me guidance. Like, they trusted the fact that I was going to do the right thing. So, like, people that own facilities and they've already put in, like, the same exact kind of facility I have, but just not in the same area, they were like, Nate, this is what you need to do this.
And it's as we're talking about success and you know, what you were doing, it's really crazy. You brought up fear, because I can remember this is something I've always wanted to do and for fun and to just as a pastime. And then, like, I remember I posted my first episode and like I was laying there in bed at night and I'm like, I should delete it.
Of course,
I should go return all of everything I just bought. I should go return it, and I should delete the episode, and I'll just move on with my life, dude. And it's like my brain is constantly telling me all these fears and self-doubts, man. But you just gotta, like, rise to that occasion, man, because, like, you know, my insecurities and self-doubts will run me ragged.
And, like, I knew that I had, my biggest thing was I knew I had support. Like, if I didn't have any support, community, family, everybody that had my back, if I would fail, you know, because there's a good chance I was going to fail doing this, you know, and I knew that I had the support. So, like, even if it failed, like, I was willing to accept that, you know, I'm going to try it, because I did not want to keep doing what I was doing and then have it in the back of my head, like, why didn't I do this? You know, you wanted to do it. You put it in motion. You knew exactly what you wanted. You had the opportunity. You had the funds to do it. And I didn't want to be 3 years from now saying, well, why didn't you do it at that point? I want to at least try.
You know, when we talk about that trying, that's like what I found in my life that matters the most, more than anything, is to just try, right? Like, can you imagine if, like, your dad taught you how to ride a bike and you're just like, no.
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
You know what I mean? You just didn't get on the bike. I was scared to ride a bike as a kid. I didn't know how to ride with no handlebars yet. But one day I just decided to take my hands off the handlebars, and all of a sudden I got a couple feet with my hands not on the handlebar. You know what I mean? And that's what matters the most, is when we start trying in our lives, I swear to God, doors just start opening up. And when we try to be better people, right? You talk about being a good person and all that. When you just try to be a good person, man, good things happen to you. A lot of shitty things happen to me, but for the most part, I wasn't being my best version of myself. Those issues I was running into, the self-doubt was carrying me, because that self-doubt was telling me the truth at the time. But now the self-doubt's just like this little voice. It's just like, I don't know about that.
And so, like, the trying thing, like, when I wanted to do this facility, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And, like I said before, but I was like, I overcame one of the biggest fucking hurdles in my life. I stopped using fucking heroin. Yeah. Something that there's millions of people out there that can't do. There's a ton of people out there who cannot stop using drugs and alcohol. I figured out how to do that and learned how to do that. And I've learned how to maintain doing that. So I was like, you know what, that fear, I don't really fear too much anymore. I have little things that I fear here and there, but that's just little stuff. But, like, when it comes to, like, making things happen, whether it's big or small, I don't hold that fear over my head anymore. I'm doing it. I'm going after it. I want this, and I'm going to make it fucking happen.
I think that's why we're so blessed to live the lives that we lived. I couldn't imagine being that person, kind of like, drinking their tea with their middle pinky up, with their pinky up. I can't imagine living that way, because what can you do to me that my addiction already didn't do to me? Right. You know what I mean? Like, I slept in a tent.
I've been at the lowest, and it's crazy because, I'm at a very good point in my life, but I've been at a point where it was just like, why do I keep going? Yeah. I wanted to give up, but I've never felt that give up in a long time. I don't want to give up. I have my view right now, my vision right now with what I want to do with my life. I'm striding, and like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop until until I'm too old to do it anymore. That's how I look at it, and I've set goals. That's been a big thing for me. I set goals. Okay, I'll open this facility. After I open this facility, I'm like, all right, after a year, I want to be at this point. After 2 years, I want to be at this point. After 3 years, I want to be at this point. And I've reached those goals, and I've been open for over 2 years now.
I think recovery shows us that short-term goals are accomplishable too, man. I got a shout out to Eric. Eric, me and him did a vision board, where we like cut out pictures and put everything we wanted on our vision board. And for him, and it's worked in my life too, but for him, he's got everything he wanted on his vision board. You know what I mean? So when you say you got a vision for something, that's like half the battle, right? Like, I would say 90% of it's the vision. The 10% is just like putting it into work, putting it into action. Like, all right, here's one step forward towards that vision board, towards what I want, towards my dream, towards that vision, and then when you start completing those short-term goals, or those goals that you want, when you start completing those goals that you want, you start acting with confidence. That self-doubt, those fears just get quieter and quieter as you keep going,
The one thing I've always done, like me, I like to make money. Nobody in this world doesn't want to make money. But when it comes to my goals, money has nothing to do with it.
Nope.
I don't put any kind of goal, I want to make this much money by this time. I don't have anything to do with any kind of money. My goals are what I want to accomplish with what I do in life. That's it. It's not about the finances. I want to make money because everybody wants to make money, but my goals isn't like, I want to be a millionaire by this day, or I want to have this much money in my bank account by this year. It's not like that. I don't focus on that.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. Not everyone might know. At 18, I won a settlement, and it wasn't a lot of money, but for an 18-year-old, it was. And I had a really good job at the airport, and I did a lot of things that, I just blew the money like any 18-year-old kid would, right? And for me, I got a good lesson out of life in that, which is like money doesn't mean happiness, and that money doesn't equal, success by any means or any stretch of the imagination. And for me, and more so when we're talking about money, money just gives me peace of mind, man. It just lets me know I got a roof over my head, that I can buy food whenever I want, and that if I need something, it'll be taken care of.
And I've learned, I think it's because of how I was brought up, and where I came from. Like, people who know me, they know I'm a pretty humble person. And, like, I'll take my shirt off for anybody. I'll take one, give them anybody that need anything, I'll help them, and I've never been, I've made some money, and I've had money, and I've lost money, and I've been broke, and I've had, but I've never, ever flaunted, and that's one thing that I think that I've built respect with a lot of people. And I don't do that purposely to build respect with people. It's just the nature that I am. I've always learned to be humble.
It's funny you said that. Like, most people would call you humble, because I would call you humble.
Yeah.
I really would. So, like, it's not like you're just because, like, one of the first things I think about when I think about you is, kind-hearted and humble. And I think that goes a lot to be said, that there are good people who are successful out there who do have good hearts, because a lot of times, especially how successful people are portrayed, whether it be celebrities or the media, there's these, like, kind of like culture vultures who aren't these good people, but they're definitely out there. And a question I had for you, man, because you got a much bigger scope on the outlook of substance use than I do, and then this is a question I ask myself. I kind of feel like do you think the way we treat substance use will ever change?
The way we treat it?
Yeah, the way we treat substance use. Do you think that the way that as providers that we treat it, do you think the substance use will ever evolve past what it is, or do you think this is kind of the wheelhouse we're going to be going in?
I think for a very long time it will be the wheelhouse that we're going in. It's changed. Everything changes. I mean, 5 years ago was different from 5 years ago is different from right now. 10 years ago is definitely different from right now. So, like, 10 years from now, I mean, I don't know what direction it'll go in. But I do know one thing, that there's always going to be addiction. Yeah. Whether it doesn't even have to be drugs. It can be alcohol, it can be food, it could be gambling, it could be sex, it could be all kinds of different addictions. There's always going to be that addiction, that mental health coming together. But I think the change in the way we treat it, I don't see very much, because, I mean, the number one thing that I've seen work in treatment is what we're doing right now. We're talking about it, and we're being support for people. And we're teaching people how to stay sober.
And that's like kind of like that's the point I was trying to get at, which is this, right? Like, I've been seeing a drastic, like, people want to talk about the opiate epidemic, and I've been seeing drastic uptakes in methamphetamine use and just weird other designer drugs, filter through. And, like, we're really, it's not 2005 and 2010 anymore. When we're living in 2021, these kids we were talking about who might overdose at 15 or 16, and these I've seen people way past in their 60s using opiates and using these drugs, and I don't think it's ever going to slow down. I really don't. I don't think it's ever going to stop, or there's ever going to be, and which is why I think we found that place in the world for ourselves, because I think the universe put me in a position to be right here in this moment, and to be doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and I don't see it. I don't see it changing. And I don't see it changing in my lifetime. Maybe in 100 years it'll be different. But there's always going to be. It doesn't matter. Like, one thing I've learned, and it's working in this field, it's not the drugs. The people. It's always the same person. The people come in on whether they're on opiates or they're on meth or they're on alcohol, they're using cocaine or they're abusing weed. It's always it's always the same person, same story, but it's just a different kind of drug. So I always look at it like the drug's not the fucking problem, and it's about changing behaviors.
Yeah. I definitely see that, and it gets to the point where we see the same characteristics in a lot of people that filter through, no matter what drugs they're using. And we talk about those behaviors. We see a lot of the same behaviors kind of like replay. And addiction has many faces, but there's really just one main face, right? And there's just different colors to that face. And I really truthfully believe that that at the end of the day, when we talk about, you know, substance use, that the work we do is so valued, man. Because when you see someone get their life back, when you see someone like you, right, who's been living what they didn't think that was possible, right? I mean, it'll change your life, you know, when you see someone's before and after picture, you know, this is me in county jail. This is me a year sober, you know, and that's what lights a fire under my ass, dude. That's what gets me motivated when I wake up.
You know, and it bothers me when people say, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to stay sober, because there's people out there that are sober, you know, and there's people that I never ever would dream I'd be this far. You know, I never thought I'd have 13 years sober. I couldn't even put 13 minutes sober. You know, and when people say, like, I can't do this, I'll never be that. This is my life. This is how my life's going to be for the rest. That's bullshit. You know, that's bullshit. Like, if you think that you can never, ever stop using, you need to do something different. Because if your mind is telling you that, that's bullshit. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely don't have to live that way. You know, you definitely, like you know, it was implementing those changes that we talked about that was hard for me, but once I started implementing the changes and could see the growth within myself, that's when, like, if you asked me when I was first getting sober, like, hey, where do you see your life in a year? I'd be like, okay, I'd have a decent job, I'll have my car back, I'll have my driver's license, and I'll have somewhere to live. Right, very, very simple in all aspects to, like, most people. Right, here's the crazy part: a year sober, I had none of that. Yeah, you know. Yeah. But I was still so happy. Like I want. Like, if you asked me at day one, that's what I wanted. But in a year when I didn't get any of that. I took a bus to work. You know, I worked 2 crappy jobs. You know, minimum wage jobs. I was paying off my driver's license, but wasn't able to get it back at the time still. But what I got is, like, this sense of security in who I am. And you know, when I look back on my drug use, I think a lot of men struggle with this, and maybe more than just men in addiction, maybe just people, but especially as a young man, I felt so purposeless. Yeah. I felt like growing up, my life just didn't have meaning, and that I didn't know what my purpose was. So I'm going to party and get drunk and have as much fun as I can right now, and worry about my purpose, you know, down the road.
And that's huge that you said that by party and stuff, because, like, you know, I was 25 when I got sober. So, like, them years of between 18 and 25, I thought that's what life was supposed to be. Just one big party, have fun. You know, do what I can to have fun. Obviously, the last few years of me using wasn't fun because I was full-blown addicted to opiates. So it was a struggle. It was a full-time job getting high every day, and it wasn't fun anymore. But, like, I thought that's what life was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be a big party, you know, because everybody tells you, like, seek what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. And I found what made me happy at that point, and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Not realizing, like, okay, everything I'm doing is fucking hurting everybody around me.
Yeah, insert crappy Instagram quote here.
Yeah, right, for real.
You know, yeah, man. And that's really, like, why I think people get stuck in that mindset of, like, I'm never going to make it, or I can never stay sober, because they just don't see anything else. Yeah. You know, it's because we've been, you know, preconditioned to live in that lifestyle for so long. Like, dude, I had 12 years old. I never said I can't wait to fucking sleep in the tent and take a bird bath at the public library. Right. But at 22, I'm doing it, and, like, people are looking at me weird, and I'm like, what are you looking at? Well, they're looking at you because you're taking a bird bath.
Wait, you mean this isn't normal? This isn't normal. I think this is what my life's supposed to be, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, dude, I'll tell you a little bit about this. This is a kind of a funny story. So I sold my car, and I was sleeping in my car at the time, and this is my mindset. When I sold the car, I was like, I can sleep in a tent. Right? And so I sold the car, and I put the tent underneath a tree, and the first night it was fine. It went great. Not a big issue. And the second night it just got rained out. Pouring down rain, and I woke up, and I was everything I owned was just soaked, and I just remember looking up to the sky,
like, where the fuck is my car?
Yes. Yeah, dude, I had just no idea, and it's funny, man, because it's not funny when it happened, but it's funny looking back on it because my mindset was like, oh, I'm sleeping in a tent, it'd be a nice little camping trip. It's summertime.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll be all right. At least I got a roof over my head. It's a fucking tent.
Yeah, dude. I'm lucky, dude, because when I came around, I'm not sure if you ever noticed about me, but I never knew that there was recovery available. Mm-hmm. And like I can remember, like in addiction, my mom, there was one point in time where like I'd stop by and ask her for some money, and she was like, do you want to go to the hospital? And I looked at her and I'm like, for what? And she's like, Cameron, I think you need help. And I'm like, for what? I'm not sick. I don't need to go to the hospital. Right. She was trying to give me, get some help for my drug problem that I, was denying. And, like a year later, I'm homeless in a hotel. Shout out to the Crown Inn on Alexis and Jackman. And Dart busted on my hotel.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they busted in. And this is like right when Dart came around. And they put me in handcuffs and they sat me down. And they said, do you want help? I was like, what kind of help? And they're like, from like drugs. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we can help you. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Because I just had no idea
that there's even anything available.
Yeah. I had no idea that I could even get the help. Like my idea of what rehab was that like the rich and famous people went to like some like beach villa on the sandy beaches of California. Yeah. And they like sat in a hot tub for a week and were like, time to do a little less cocaine. You know what I mean? And they just went on with their lives. I never really knew that like there was a whole treatment plan for me set up into motion that I didn't even know about.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You're very blessed, man. You really are, if you think about it. Like, my hardest struggle I have today is like people who had opportunities that are no longer with us. And like I think about that. I'm thinking when you said that they had you sitting down on that bed and you're in handcuffs and you're probably at a very low moment at that time in your life, like how the fuck did I get to this point? I could probably bring you 150 people that I've met in my life that would have been loved to be in that situation right now.
Yeah.
They're no longer with us. They don't have that opportunity. You had an opportunity at that time.
That's the truth, man. And it's death is one of the outcomes, in this field. And I was looking up statistics, man, and every 11 minutes someone dies from drug overdose in the United States of America. And I was talking to Dart in passing, probably like November. And I was like, how are the overdose deaths doing? Because I was asking because I was guessing it was going to be down due to COVID. Mm-hmm. And people not wanting to leave their house, or drug dealers not wanting to leave their house, whatever. No, they're up.
Yeah,
they're up from where they were last year in Ohio, and they're up from where they were in Lucas County from last year. And so that just like blew my mind. Like, wow,
2020 set a record for most overdose deaths in the country. 2020, not only with the pandemic. I think that COVID played a big role in it. And one thing I noticed, working in the treatment industry, like I know where a lot of our clients come from, and we had people that needed treatment, but they weren't coming because they had stimulus checks, that they were spending. People overdose when they got their stimulus checks. People were collecting unemployment that didn't have an income. They started collecting unemployment, so that just continued them getting high instead of getting help, And I saw this trend. And then same thing with probation. A lot of the courthouses, a lot of probation offices were closed, and they weren't doing in-person check-ins. So there really wasn't any consequences for people doing what they were doing. So like, more people were getting high and less people were getting help.
Before I ever got that help from Dart, and this goes to say what you were saying about courts, because I can remember, I overdosed once, and when I overdosed, the cops found me, and I had like 4 or 5 different warrants out for my arrest. And the only reason I did not go out and get high that day was because I was locked in handcuffs. Like that's the only reason. So if that was never in place, if that didn't play a part in my recovery, I might not be here today. I know it was going to happen. 8 years ago. And so yeah, I definitely think you're right, man. Because I think this is all encompassing. When we talk about this, but and it's not to be grim, but that's the reality, because I've had a lot of friends, a lot of people I was close with, a lot of people that I love are no longer with us because of substance use.
And consequences change people. You getting arrested, that was a consequence. I've been arrested a few times, and that last time was the consequence that took for me to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's time for me to change who I am. And with courts and probation and COVID, and the consequences are less severe. They're not putting people in jail. And I don't think jail's the answer. I definitely don't think jail's the answer, but I think jail's a great intervention with people that are using that don't want to get help. And it gets them sober, to get them kind of maybe getting a right mindset to find some help when they get out. Because when you're using, the biggest fear that you have is going through withdrawal. And when you're put in jail, it doesn't matter. You're forced to go through withdrawal. It's not like, I don't want to stop using and detox my mom's couch because I don't want to feel that way. But when you go to jail, you're forced to feel that. And I've seen that change a lot of people.
When we talk about this, I know for a fact, like, it's even changed in the court systems, right? The way, like, it's kind of crazy to even talk about this, but, like, publicly speaking, right? Like, there's still that stigma that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. There's still that, like, kind of like, right? But the courts are on board faster than the public, because I think they see it more than the public does.
Yeah.
And, like, here's the thing, dude. When I got arrested back in 2012, my first arrest was for, like, under a gram of weed. And I did like 3 months in county jail. You know what I mean?
And they don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. No. So, like, I do think the courts are definitely coming around and definitely playing a huge part into people's recovery, and whether or not people like the fact that, hey, you're court mandated to go to treatment. Well, good, because, I mean, hey, if even if you don't have a substance use problem and you go through the treatment program, hey, at least you did it. At least you follow through on it, on your end of the bargain, and the court's doing something to hold you accountable. You know what I mean?
And they're overwhelmed. I mean, think about how many people that we talk to on a regular basis that are looking for help between me and you, and then take that and times it by 10. That's how many people in the courts they see. So, like, they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do with everybody, and they're trying to do the best that they can. And I always have respect for the courts because, some judges are different than other judges, but at the end of the day, a lot of them have the heart, and they're like, okay, let's find this guy help, and they're giving people opportunity because they're seeing that addiction isn't, with it being a disease, but they're seeing it's something that can be fixed, what I mean, or something that can be, addressed. And throwing them in jail, they know that's not the answer, and there's no treatment in jail, which, that's okay because that's not what jail's supposed to be. But I look at jail like a little intervention from how people are living at that moment.
Yeah. I got a really good buddy of mine. I ran the streets with him growing up, and he ended up doing 7 to 10 years for burglaries. And I was probably 18 and he was 20. And he just got out this past summer. And when he was getting out, I told him, like, hey, man, if you need help getting into, like, a halfway, you know what I mean, let me know. I'll get you there. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I don't need it. And, he's back in jail. You know what I mean? After doing 7 to 10 years. And I just wish, I just wish people would just give themselves the chances, just to grab the rope, even if they only get up so far up the rope. I wish people would take the chance, because if I didn't give this a chance, if I just told those police officers, I don't want your help, man, do whatever you got to do. If I would have went that route, man, I definitely wouldn't be here, I don't know if I would have ever gotten sober. And I think that's why it's so important when we talked about that family, community, and society support, because, I can't do it alone.
And some people get institutionalized.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot with people that are treatment. They bounce from treatment center to treatment center. They get out, they purposely relapse, or they don't purposely, but they relapse. But they want to go back to treatment again right away. And, you know, I've met people that have been to treatment 25 times, but like that's that institutionalized. And, you know, with your buddy that was in prison for over 7 years, I feel like, you know, he got out, and sometimes people don't know how to handle life on life's terms, and they feel more comfortable on the inside, or they feel more comfortable being institutionalized in something. So, you know, they look for a way out, you know?
Yeah. Before we end this podcast, man, do you want to plug any of your websites or anything you're working on right now, or plug anything?
Well, I mean, I work for, I have the treatment center that's called Recovery Institute of Ohio in Sandusky, Ohio. Our website's www.recoveryinstituteofohio.com. My phone number is 419-262-2436. If you hear anything on here that you want to ask me questions about, feel free to call me. My phone is always available. I'd like to let people know that there is a nonprofit out in the area that I am in, Erie County, Sandusky County, like the Bellevue area, that's called Ohio Change Addiction now, and they're doing a lot of great work. I am a part of that, and I sit on the board of a nonprofit out on the other side of Cleveland called Clean Start. It's a group that helps people that are looking for help, and then I also sit on the board of a program called the Project Noel, and they are a mom who lost her daughter, but they help with kids. They do a lot of like gifting kids and finding kids support and all that who have lost family because of addiction.
Awesome, man. I'm so happy you're here, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be able to, you know, get your story out there a little bit and to talk with you. And you can follow the AgroLabs podcast on AgroLabs at Twitter and the AgroLabs podcast on Instagram. Stay safe, stay sober, stay agro.